Hello guys, Furball the Hammy, your friendly neighborhood hamster, is back again for another guild review. Yes, today will mark the beginning of my brand new series known as Guild Reviews, where I will be visiting any guild, late or mid or even early game guilds with or without splashes to stay in them for a week and afterwards giving them a review. This will be a brand new series that will be made once every 2 weeks, and I will be reviewing 2 guilds every single video. And in today's video, we will be reviewing a mid-game guild known as Upsy and a late-game guild known as Money Moves. So before we begin, let's go through the way I will critique and rate guilds. Bear in mind that today is just the first video, so there are plenty of tweaks that will be made to this system as time goes on. Number 1. Splashes. It is dependent on how frequent splashes are and the quality of splashes as well as the guild taxes. Number 2. Slayers. Dependent on how many players are able to boss trade, such as for SVENS and Tarantulas. Number 3. Dungeons. Dependent on the quality of dungeon players in a guild and how many dungeon mains are there in a guild. And number 4. Dragons. Dependent on how many players do dragons in a guild and how easy it is to form dragon parties within your guild for convenience. And last but not least, the last factor will be activity and helpfulness. It is dependent on how active a guild is during peak and off-peak hours and how much do guild members help one another out, such as for crafting items, saving auction house bids, and etc. So if you'd like your guild to be reviewed in my videos, be sure to join my Discord server, link in the description, and post in the hashtag guild section detailing why I should join your guild and the benefits your guild has to offer, along with the type of guild of course, and if you are lucky, you may be chosen to have your guild review and to be featured as the guild of the week in my Discord server. And with that, before we begin with the video, be sure to smash the subscribe button down below and be sure to like the video to show me how much you guys enjoy these guild reviews, and if it is popular by demand, I will continue making this series for the next few months. Also, we are halfway to YouTube rank, and be sure to subscribe because at 20,000 subscribers, I will also be doing a 1,500 tier 4 SVENS marathon, so be sure to subscribe. And now let's get on to the video. Firstly, let's talk about Money Moves. Money Moves was the first official guild I joined for this guild review series. You can join their Discord, link in the description to apply. Money Moves is a late game slayer guild with the requirements of 1 mil slayer XP and 30 skill leverage, no wealth average, no minion slots whatsoever. So now, why is it a slayer focused guild, you may be asking? Now, number 1. Splashes. 5 stars. Because in terms of splashes, it gets a perfect score of 5 stars as it splashes 12 times a day with the few leeches in between to make up for the gaps. This guild will ensure that you are always potted most of the time as long as you log off with pots and you own a parrot pet. It splashes every single skill XP boost as well as experience 4, making it extremely convenient for grinding skills. However, while it does have a guild tax of 1 million coins per week, which I think is on the slightly more expensive side, it is pretty justified. Trust me, when I was in Money Moves, I pretty much always had potions on 24/7. And number 2, Slayers. 5 stars. Hands down, this is the best guild I've ever seen for Slayers in my life. There are plenty, and I mean plenty, of players in Money Moves who do Slayers, especially SVENS and Tarantulas. I have boss traded with plenty of different guild members in Money Moves, and they certainly know what they are doing and are proficient in their Slayer trade. This guild receives my Slayer Maniac seal of approval for Slayers. And number 3, Dungeons. 3 stars. While it isn't a dungeons focused guild due to the sheer amount of splashes, obviously, I mean, you don't need potions in dungeons, it is after all a late game guild with high quality and rich players. And that means that a handful of them are also amazing at dungeons, although they are less common than the Slayer grinders. Number 4, Dragons. 2 stars. There are a minority of players who still do dragons in the guild, and I do see a few of them popping up from time to time. However, this isn't really the main guild you want to join to be looking around for a guild to do dragons consistently. And number 5, Activity and Helpfulness. 5 stars. This is a really active guild, obviously, since it's a top 10 guild. This guild has an average of 30 online players during off-peak hours and 50 or even more players online during peak hours. That's almost half of the guild. I have seen players in this guild help each other out with performing the slime head glitch for Slayers and save each other's auctions in times of distress. It is also a highly active guild and friendly guild with a sense of humor. All in all, Money Moves is an amazing late game guild for those who aren't tryhard enough for the top 3 guilds. It is, however, an amazing guild for Slayer mains like me hands down. And now moving on to the late game guild Upsi, which is largely a mid game guild. Remember that late and mid game guilds are rated separately, meaning a 5-star rating for a mid game guild isn't the equivalent of a 5-star rating for a late or an end game guild. And link to join Upsi's Discord is linked in the description. Upsi has a guild requirement of 24 skill average and 240,000 Slayer XP. The skill average is around the requirements for a mid game player, while the Slayer XP is around the mid-late game area of progression. Number 1, splashes, 5 stars. This guild charges no splash taxes, yet has plenty of splashes. How can this be? Basically, this guild has a splash leeching bot which announces when there is a splash to be leeched. While the splashes in this guild are inconsistent since you may have to compete with others for splashes, the reason why this gets a 5-star rating is due to how good the bot is and how many splashes you are offered every single hour or every single 2 hours at practically no cost. Number 2, Slayers, 4 stars. As you can tell, this guild prioritizes Slayers slightly more, as 240k Slayer XP is significantly harder to get than 24 skill average. There are a fair share of players who do boss trade in this guild, and it certainly is nothing to scoff at for a mid-game guild. Number 3, Dungeons, 4 stars. For mid-game standards, you can find decent floor 2 and floor 3 parties relatively easily in for this guild, and that is amazing for a mid-game guild in general. And number 4, Dragons, 1 stars. I mean, for mid-game players, Dragons shouldn't be a priority, and honestly, if you are a mid-game player looking for a mid-game guild, Dragons doesn't really matter in my rating. So yeah, to be fair, I should technically remove the rating for Dragons from mid-game guilds because most mid-game players will never do dragon grinding. And number 5, activity and helpfulness, 4 stars. 15 to 20 players online during non-peak hours and 30 to 40 players online during more livelier hours isn't bad for a mid-game guild, which is clearly going to be more casual and is considered rather active. Guild members are also very helpful towards one another for crafting items and saving a few auction bits here and there, as long as the items aren't too expensive. Overall, for mid-game and mid-late game players who aren't at the standard of late game yet, Upsi is an amazing guild for helping you save coins for splashes, and is an amazing all-rounder mid-game guild for slayers and dungeons and splashes. It is also a very friendly community. However, I did wish that there could be more players online, but that's probably because I'm used to being in tryhard guilds which are way more active, so take this with a pinch of salt. And with that, we have come to the end of today's guild review, and I hope I certainly helped. And with that, a slayer boss a day keeps the /GKit command away, so be sure to do your daily slayer bosses. And with that, this is Flvff the Hammy, your slayer maniac, signing out.